In this video, I want to go over how to optimize the UI and UX for version 1 of your bootstrapped SaaS to get ready for launch. If you don't know me, my name is Sean Boyce, and I've spent years building successful SaaS businesses. I'm building my next one in public with you so that you can borrow from my process to hopefully increase your chances of success. Subscribe if you don't want to miss a step in the process. In my previous video, I officially launched my landing page, and you can see that at goclockless.com. I'll include that link in the description below as well too if you want to check it out. Also, a previous step that we completed was to design version 1 of our UI UX using a combination of Claude and Lovable. Today, what we're going to focus on is optimizing that UI and UX to get that ready for ultimately what we want to build into the experience for version 1 of the application. Next, beyond that, is going to be wiring up the backend and making everything work technically. And if you've missed a step in the process of my Build in Public series here, I'll link to the playlist so that you can catch up. So why are we doing this step now? Well, to put it simply, your UI and UX matters to your target market. Your product doesn't just need to solve the problem in an effective way, but it needs to be easy to use. In addition to that, we can use the UI and UX design to scaffold out the rest of our build. Better understanding what that experience needs to be like helps us understand where we need to focus when we're wiring up everything technically. And then to add to that, for the folks that you've been doing interviews with and who you want to go back to demo with, you can use this version of the UI design, which is going to be interactive, much better than anything we've had access to previously because of AI, to start getting more feedback from the target market and start the beginning process of what it looks like to sell your product. Previously, I used a combination of Claude and Lovable to design version 1 of the UI UX, but today we're probably just going to need to stick with Lovable. So let's take a look. So here I've got pulled up the version 1 of the UI UX that Lovable helped me create based on the context I fed it from Claude. So let's go through this design and I'm going to share with you what I'm going to provide in terms of feedback to Lovable to see the changes that I want right now. I've got the Lovable version queued up here, and I'll probably switch back and forth a little bit so you can see a larger perspective of the app as I open it up a new window and I walk you through the sections that I want to review. So let's take a look. So this is the app. This is the app dashboard. So this is currently wired up to the home page. This is an easy way to be able to do demos. You can kind of think of this as like a demo account. That's a common pattern. I think it's a great idea for not just doing demos yourself, so like in a sales-led way, but also people who want to visit your site to get an idea of what using this thing might be like. I think that can help qualify people. But for the most part, this dashboard looks pretty good. Now, the first thing that I noticed as I took a deeper dive is while it looks cool, I'm not a huge fan of the font because it makes it a little bit harder to read. I made a similar change on my landing page. I think it was trying to keep that in sync. It looks expensive and fancy, which is great. I know we're targeting lawyers and stuff like that, but I'd rather it be readable before it looks super pretty. Apologies to any of my designers out there who know that I clearly don't have that background. But I'm going to request that change. Another thing I'm going to change around as well too is these tiles here in this top row. The one that says next scan, I don't know that that's the most relevant or helpful information. I'm probably going to design this to run on the same time every day. So I'm going to remove that tile and just keep the other three. Scrolling down a little bit further, I love this hours captured on the dashboard here. This is hitting our users in the face with the value that we're providing for them. And I definitely want to keep this, but I want to redesign it slightly. How I want to redesign it is I want to go from hours captured to revenue that we've recovered for you. And it's pretty easy to do because we also have the information based on their billing rate. So I'm going to request that we shift this from showing it in terms of time to showing it in terms of money, right? That's about as good as it gets for your SaaS product. You are literally showing your user how much money you are providing them or saving them or generating for them or whatever based on the value your product provides. Excellent stuff. Really easy for them to obviously connect the dots there when they're thinking about the ROI and the investment they're making into your software. The other thing here that I was kind of torn on was this system status tile on the right-hand side of the dashboard or the chart. I considered the idea of removing it, but I think I'm going to keep it because I like the fact that it has status updates there, and I do want folks to pay attention to that in case an integration breaks for whatever reason. Now, we can add notifications and all kinds of cool stuff, and we will do that too, but I'm going to leave that for now, even though it may be taking up some valuable screen real estate. We'll keep an eye on that in the future in terms of how much value it provides. Now, down to the report section, I think this is all really good as well too, but that's where I want to kind of go next because that's where I was going to make the next changes. Now, right now, you've got a row for every report that was generated, which is fine. I like that, and it's got the relevant information that I need on it. When you open up the report, there's a couple things here that I'd like to do. Number one, there's probably going to be a couple of folks working on this information, as in this may not just be a tool used by one person, like a partner at a law firm or just a lawyer or something like that. I think this is likely to be shared back and forth with both the lawyers who may be setting this up or wanting to set this up, as well as anyone that helps them with the administrative work or some of the billing stuff as well too. So in order to capture potentially more value there for them, and before we maybe have full integrations with all systems where they're doing everything else, like their practice management software or their accounting software or whatever, I want to add the ability for them to do a little bit more here from a tracking perspective. And how I'm thinking of that is giving them the ability to essentially set a status for each report. And I'm going to keep those guidelines relatively loose because I want to see what the AI will come up with as well too, based on the context it knows about what we're building. But things like this one is new, this one maybe has been reviewed, this one has been entered into the system, this one has been billed, this one has been paid, that kind of stuff. So they're not necessarily stepping over each other or making any of those mistakes. Plus, I'd like to keep a history of that. So a log in the report somewhere, or a way for any user to come in here and see who's done what relative to this report, so that again, we're not kind of like duplicating any effort. So that's the report section. Other things that I've noticed as I've been going through kind of using this product is you'll see it's got a collapsible menu, which I'm typically in favor of. However, what I don't love, and you can see it kind of when I hover back over here, the ability to expand the menu is a floating option. I don't love floating stuff. I love things that are just kind of always there so people can relatively easily see them, because if I can't see that it's there, I may not know that it's there, or I may forget. So I may anchor that, but also you can see that it kind of overlaps with the icon or the logo here. So what I'm going to do instead is, I think the menu looks good and collapses and makes good use of the real estate and all that kind of stuff. Probably just going to remove the icon or the logo so that it doesn't interfere with this operation. And then I'll expand the menu to kind of show you this as well too. There's a bunch of other great sections in here, like settings, account, and billing. But one glaringly obvious thing that I noticed is really not part of this so far is some form of where the user can go for help. We don't have like chat designed or integrated into this. We likely will in the future. But at minimum, I want to add a section that's specific for help, or an area where they can go to get more support. Usually what I add to that is something like, give me the ability to send me at least a message so I can tell you what's going on and or what I need help with. So I think that covers most of the things I would likely change here. However, you guys could take a look at this and give me feedback as well too. I'd love to hear, what feedback you have about any other changes you'd like to see for version 1 of this before we move forward with the technical build. So if you have them, please share those as comments as well also. Okay, so that pretty much covers the feedback that I wanted to add. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to kick this off for Lovable, let it do its thing, and then I'll fast forward through this so that you don't have to wait. We'll come back and we'll review the results together. Okay, Lovable's done. Let's see how it did. So here we are on the dashboard, and it gives you a nice summary as well too of what it did. So you can go there and check to make sure it followed your instructions accurately, and or compare that to what it actually did to make sure it did it correctly or it followed your instructions accurately. So here we are in the dashboard, and you can see some relative changes from a font perspective. A lot of what's written here is easier to read. They didn't make aggressive changes for all of the larger text, and I'm actually okay with that because it does maintain a bit of that style that we're going after. Plus it's larger, so it should be easier to read. If we want to take that further, we can, but for now I think we're fine. I'd remove that additional tile. I think that also cleans up the dashboard a little bit, which is great. My favorite change by far is we have changed our chart to revenue captured, and it also reflects the average billing rate there, which is kind of nice. So plus we didn't lose the additional functionality. Now it's got a tabbed way to be able to see both, which is also great. But having revenue here is fantastic because, again, this just hits your user right in the face with the ROI that you're providing for them. If you're charging, there is significant potential to, from my perspective, at least thus far, to charge more for this product. We're going to start somewhere and evaluate from there. But if we really are recouping this much for these users, who knows what this product could ultimately be worth. And this is an excellent place to put yourself from a SaaS pricing model and generally just a business model for any business perspective. All good stuff there. Let's take a look at reports. I'm just going to go to the view all section here. Okay, so I see some additional information has been added here, including the status, which is tagged at the top, which is great. So I can see that. I also have an icon here that it added to give me some indication that there is some notes or some history there as well. Love that. So up here, we've got our status, which is helpful. So now we can change these as we're collaborating and working on them. And we can also maintain the history. If I go down here, I can see an area to enter more information into the activity log and the log itself. All good stuff. That should help us with collaborating, especially for V1. Again, if we want to push integrations or automations or whatever further, we can move that stuff there. But for now, that gives our users quite a bit more to kind of work with at the moment. And then other stuff that I mentioned, let's check out our menu options. So you can see that our logo, our icon is gone. I think that cleans it up a bit more as well too. When I collapse it, it maintains that there, which I liked. And now I can always refer back to it. I can always make that wider or whatever. But for now, that's great. It's always there. Folks should be able to see it. Also, we've added an additional menu section for help and support. This is very good. This is pretty much what I was looking for. Areas to look for guides and FAQs if they want that, plus the ability to send us messages right in this interface or an email to access us directly as well too. I often configure kind of email support in the beginning, just so that you're not inundated or you have to feel you need to necessarily respond instantaneously to any chat messages right away. However, if you want to do chat, I think that's perfectly okay as well too. And I usually ship that relatively quickly also because I do want my users to be able to access me as frequently and as often as they want, plus give them as many opportunities to do so as well in terms of like how they want to reach out. So this looks really good. I think it nailed it for the most part. I don't think there's much I would change here before I feel like this is demo ready and or this is a great foundation that we can start building the more advanced technical stuff on the back end on top of. Okay, that's it for this video, guys. We did a great job of making updates to our UI UX to get it ready for version 1. Now we can start leveraging this in order to start doing demos, interviews with our target market prospects, and it gives us a great foundation to start building all the technical stuff to wire up the real functionality on the back end from here. Now, as I've done previously, as part of this entire Build in Public series that I'm creating, I've created templated guides for you to follow my process along the way so that you can do so with your respective SaaS project. If you want to gain access to that stuff, check out the link in the description below. It's all free, and happy building.